What's going on, race fans? It's Alex and it's Eileen, and this is It's Lights Out F1. And we just got done watching really a really good weekend. It was the weekend at Great Britain at Silverstone. We saw a pretty good race.
Which one?
Well, we can't call the sprint a race. Technically, the FIA says no, it's not a race.
Yeah.
But if I could say anything, it was a good weekend. I was like the drivers. I guess I was able to watch something that had meaningful Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Yeah, no, it was a good weekend. It was exciting.
Yeah? Why? You got something else you want to say?
I mean, I have a lot to say. There's a lot to unpack after this weekend.
This weekend's been pretty crazy, and if you are following any trends right now online, it's...
Oh, my God, it's out of control. It's hard to even, my brain hurts after today a little bit.
Yeah. So, but on Friday, we had qualifying, and Lewis took not pole, but...
The Speed King Award.
The Speed King Award.
Speed King Award.
Yes. Yeah, and he was first with Verstappen second and Bottas third.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, which was cool to see. Lewis was, over the moon, climbing fences, and he was really celebrating. Might have been, too much celebrating, according to some.
I guess. I mean, this many fans being back there, his home race.
I'm just teasing. Sense the sarcasm.
I know.
But no, it was really good to see. It was down to Q3 second lap. He didn't go any faster. He had a little tissy on the last turn there and lost it, or else he probably would have been faster. And then Max couldn't improve. He was having issues with the changes in the car or whatever. They'd made some changes in between free practice 1 and qualifying. Yeah, and it didn't work out, and he was not happy with it.
Yeah, they only had really one practice to really dial the car in this weekend.
Yeah.
And then they had to just go for it. But we also had our first sprint qualifying this year. It's the first I've ever seen for Formula One. I think it's the first.
No, it's the first ever, yeah.
So I thought it was pretty cool. My opinion, there should be more at stake than just 3 points, 2 points, and 1 point. But I understand that we're still testing it, and we're just fans of. I think we should have,
I also don't know how I feel about it determining the starting grid, because you're really risking a lot in sprint qualifying, because it's essentially just a little less than a half a race. And we saw, obviously, what happened to Perez, the worst nightmare to crash out, and then you have to start in the back. So, you're obviously, taking a gamble, having it be that. It almost, and it sounds like a lot of the drivers feel this way, that you should still get pole position, and your actually starting grid for the Grand Prix should still be from qualifying.
Yeah, I don't know.
And then the Speed King Award can be for...
And then you just get, maybe more points, so, something like the top 8 get points.
Yeah, whatever about the points for me. It's kind of silly that there's only 3 points at stake, but because I don't know, I just wouldn't want to risk it and then end up crashing and having it affect your, actual Sunday drive.
So the way I understand, the way you're saying is that then whatever happened with Perez
is everybody's worst nightmare.
But it doesn't matter, because start the race, he started wherever he qualified on Friday.
It just seems more fair, I guess. I don't know. If they're going to change the format, then they should be changing the format for every weekend.
I think they're still testing. And I kind of like it because it makes the whole weekend.
I didn't say I didn't like it. I thought it was cool. It was exciting, because you get almost like the Sunday feeling on Saturday too, and then you get the Sunday feeling on Sunday. I had to make sure that I was home in time to watch the race live, and you're excited. Oh my God, how's it gonna go? And for the drivers, I'm sure you're just as competitive during something like that. Whereas I don't know, it's just a different format with qualifying.
Yeah.
So, but it was cool. I thought it was cool. I liked the wreath that Max got. I thought that was. I mean, it was a little big. I felt like it was a little big, but it was cool. It was good to see. And
Yeah, so Max really made a pretty good move.
oh yeah, we didn't even talk about it.
Yeah, made a pretty good move lap 1.
Yeah, but he was P2. Brakes were literally on fire.
On fire.
Like flaming on fire, which was, we saw it with Lewis. And so it was like, oh, what's going to happen? Is he going to have damage to his car? But no, he just was gone.
Yeah.
Gone.
Yeah, so Max won the sprint qualifying spree, whatever you want to call it. I guess it's
it's not a race. We want to make sure it's not a race.
And then
there was a lot to unpack in the sprint qualifying.
Sure.
I'm like, it was good to see the McLaren went 5 and 6, which was good because they were kind of like coming back.
Well, Alonso went from 11 to 7.
On the softs.
On the softs, and I would think everyone was saying that he was the highlight, the man of the sprint. And I guess that's probably true. I mean, he probably made the most moves.
He was also the one that was weaving and blocking everybody from being able to pass.
I don't really like that either. I think they've got to make some rules about that or start penalizing some of these drivers because that's...
Oh, my God, penalties.
From what I could tell, and again, I'm watching from a TV screen, so it just looks like they're weaving. And the guy that's coming up behind him is starting to get up into a close spot to make the one move. And if these guys are trying to defend, but yet they're weaving, I think it's going to cause an accident to the guy that's trying to make the pass. And I think that's just dangerous.
Yeah.
And it's just...
Well, it did get to an excessive point where McLaren had reported it. So
I know, but...
Yeah, it was tough, but he had a really good start, so that was, the exciting piece from qualifying because really you didn't even watch the top 3 because they were just Max was doing his thing, and then at the end Max and Lewis were both having tire issues, so then ended up closing up a little bit, but there really was no competition, so it was boring. So that happened, and then I'm like, George hit Carlos, so that ended up being a whole nother shebang. Originally, George was P9, and then he got hit with the 3-place penalty.
Yeah, at the very end.
Which seems to be, happening every weekend. Wasn't Vettel last weekend? Bottas was the weekend before. Or the last race, not weekend.
Yeah.
Right? Just a lot of penalties. But, yeah, so that happened, and then obviously Perez crashed out in, lap 4. I mean, he didn't crash out. He recovered and then was able to, make it to, I think, 2 laps to the end, and then they retired the car. So it was a lot. It was a lot for 17 laps.
Yeah. So then that placed the grid for Sunday. And me, I like it. I think that's good. I don't know about a reverse grid. I don't know, because that's what they do in Formula 2. They have sprints, and then they have the main race. And they flip the grid for the top 8. I don't think they should do that.
Yeah, I don't think they should do that either.
But I do kind of like they wherever you finish in the sprint, because it's kind of the continuation of the weekend. And so the sprint has a little bit of gameplay towards the Grand Prix, and they try to make it so it doesn't really affect the championship a whole lot because of points only being, for the top 3, but maybe the top 8 or the top 5.
Yeah.
I don't know. Something a little bit more.
Just make the stakes a little bit more exciting. Because I guess every point does count, but, at the end of the day, I just feel like the top teams are always going to be the top. And I guess you'll see a little bit of a scramble shuffle in, the rest, the midfield. Just because... That's where you typically see difference between qualifying pace and then race pace. So, but I did like it overall.
Yeah.
It was a fun weekend.
Yeah, so then we got to see Verstappen win that, and back to, like you said, he had a reef, and they put him on a semi-truck, the back of a semi-truck, and they drove around the track. Did you like that?
Yeah, I thought that was cool. I mean, it was a little awkward, I guess you could say, just because they're doing their interviews. They're trying to interact with fans. And, I feel like they're not as invested in the interview as they typically would be, post race. But
Yeah, I think they must have did that because
it was the first, I think, like sold out.
Yeah, with all the fans back.
Yeah.
Which I thought it was great. I mean, just hearing the roars during qualifying were crazy.
Yeah, for all of them. George, Lando,
yeah,
Lewis.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
So then we get to the race day today, Sunday. And first lap.
Boy, what a controversy.
A lot of battling, like real good battling.
Yeah, so basically it was, you started the race and Lewis, there was something about the other side of the grid that they got better starts. So he got a better start. Actually, I mean, they had about the same, but they came and they were pretty much like, it looked like Lewis was ahead coming into turn one. He wasn't. Well, he was, but then when they turned, it's like you're ahead in the straight, but then you have to turn, and then, the other car ends up ahead or whatever. So we got, a half a lap in. Lewis had tried, I think, already twice to overtake Max.
Yeah, he was definitely pushing Everett at every turn trying to get something.
Yeah, and
so then we got into what was that turn? Was Cops?
I think it sounds like it's Cobbs, but it's Cops.
Yeah.
CAPSE.
And Max.
I mean, they were coming up to the turn, so I'm like explaining it, and I feel like by now I've looked at enough freaking dialogue and analysis.
So wait, did you get my email then? The diagram in it.
No, Toto sent the race rules on where a car is positioned if it's their racing line. So this is the controversy. So everybody knows at this point that Lewis and Max collided, which, let's be real, it was inevitable. I can't believe it hasn't happened yet. But I think it's because Lewis has always been, a little coy when there was the challenge there. And Max, is been very aggressive. We've seen it in many races. I mean, we talked about it on the last podcast with Imola and the controversy with that not being a penalty. Let's not get started on penalties yet, but so whatever, they, pretty much were coming up. Lewis caught like a slipstream and was like right there. And then he basically faked him out, pretended like he was going left to go around him. So Max defended to the left. Lewis went around on the inside. Came up, now that I've watched it 100,000 times, came up and they were coming into the turn, and they were pretty much like even when you look at it from overhead, in my opinion. Max was like maybe a millimeter ahead still.
Oh, tire length.
No. Tire length. It depends on the picture that you're looking at.
Tire length.
Okay, Christian Horner.
It's an abomination.
Oh, my God. Talk about the disrespect from him. But anyways, no, so they come up, and then what it looks like, because, the big thing has been they've been comparing it to, like, Bottas in, I think, 2019 when he overtook Lewis on the same turn and the same strategy. But Bottas went for it where it looked like Lewis backed off a little bit but then decided to go for it. So since he backed off a little bit, Max assumingly thought that he wasn't in his blind spot or whatever, so started to cut in more. So he's cutting in, Lewis isn't giving up, they're both going in, and then bam.
Yeah, pretty much
That's the recap.
Took Max out right away, kind of put him in a backwards spin, send him in kind of backwards into the wall at a high speed.
Yeah, really.
You kind of freaked out for a second. You were
pretty
scared.
Scary.
Camera angle showed it kind of from, a long lens kind of far away, so it kind of looked even scarier than maybe even what, it was.
It was scary. Even listening to his onboard, he sounded like messed up. You've got to be, you're going 200 plus miles an hour.
Well, their adrenaline's going.
Don't know.
First lap, not even
going
through the first
backwards,
lap.
Sideways. Look at what his car looks like. It was pretty crazy. So that happened, and but then we got a red flag.
Yep.
Lewis had some damage, so Leclerc took the lead.
So they aluminum foiled it, or
so they duct taped Lewis's wing. I was like, oh wow, I thought they would change the wing. They didn't, but I come to find out, it sounded like he had a cracked rim or something too. That was like the major damage.
They changed the rims and tires.
Yeah, so he was able to recover from them touching, but
So then they ended up giving him a 10-second penalty, and maybe a little harsh.
A little harsh? I don't know.
Yeah.
People are calling that it's not enough. I mean, Helmut Marko's asking for a race ban. So.
Yeah, he's not going to get a race ban. I don't think he deserves that. It was a first lap.
I don't think it was. I mean, here's the controversy, is that it was done on purpose. Like, are you kidding me right now? Like, okay, it wasn't done on purpose. It was literally not even, like, we're not even a lap in. You know, like, and it's the top two. If it wasn't, like, and I'll say it a million times, if it wasn't Lewis and Max, it wouldn't be as big of a deal. Like, we didn't spend all this time, and so now we're spinning all the fans and spinning, like, oh, if Red Bull wasn't versus Mercedes before, it's like, now it's just, like, pure hatred, which is just not what it should be.
No.
You know, like, Max is calling Lewis, like, disrespectful and unsportsmanlike for him to celebrate, you know, winning. And I don't know, it's getting a little crazy, but that's how social media is nowadays. But so he served his 10 seconds, you know, and I didn't think he was going to even be able to come back from it. I was like, well, he's getting a 10-second penalty. I mean, the commentators were like, Lewis's race is over.
Yeah.
So, you know.
He had some help from his teammate to let him pass pretty easily. Yeah. But I definitely think he earned the win. He served his penalty that he was given, and he came back and won.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's pretty admirable. I think that's why I personally gave him vote racer of the day, driver of the day, whatever you want to call it. He earned it.
Yeah, no.
I would have gave it to somebody else. I would have gave it to Perez if Perez would have made some more moves, but you know, his moves weren't happening fast enough, and then he
pitted 3 times. I think he got a puncture later,
yeah. So,
and then they ended up sending. Yeah,
it wasn't Red Bull's weekend at all.
It wasn't, no. And I mean, listen, it wasn't ideal, and obviously it was scary to see Max have such a big crash. And not that we think, oh, you know, it's great that Max crashed. Never. I mean,
no, I'm a fan of him too. So.
But it's like, it to me, they both own a piece of it. Yeah, like, so, yes, you know, like saying 100% is Lewis's fault that's not right. Was he, you know, was he aggressive, and did he take, you know, according to Christian Horner, the highest corner that you should never go into and never try to overtake in, you know, and then it's quite interesting.
Well, I don't know, because we saw that a bunch.
Well, we saw Lewis do it to win the race.
And we saw him do it like 3 times.
Yeah,
in the race.
And we've seen it in previous years.
And it was clean every other time. So, you know, it was just because lap 1, racing incident, whatever kind of penalty comes out of the racing incident, and that's what they gave him. You know, it didn't completely ruin his race. It made his race harder. And in true Lewis form, he did it. Mm-hmm. And that's why.
I think it's a lot of pent up stuff too. Like, I mean, the first 5 races were really aggressive. There was a lot of like Lewis backing off, and I mean, I feel like we've been saying it's going to come to a culmination at some point, and it did. Yeah. And, you know, hopefully, I really hope that they both can talk about it or whatever they need to do to get past it, because it's not going to be, like, fun to have this crazy, like, animosity and, like, you know, when they're rivals, but they should be respectful of one another. So, I don't know. I'm like, they both – and listen, it was the same with George and Bottas when they crashed, and it was whose fault is this and whose is that and whatever. And then they ended up, like, you know, cooling down after their initial, like, reactions to the press and stuff. But I don't know. It doesn't look like that's going to happen with them. I mean, Max has got his family and all sorts of other people, and not to mention just the fans and – just the stuff that they're saying, like, you know, just seeing how hateful people are. It's, I mean, it's crazy to me.
Yeah, well, I don't know. We're not really paying attention to that here on this show. You know, so let's move on from that. We saw Norris coming forth, and honestly, I thought he was going to have a little bit better race, but at the end there, he just didn't really have the tires to kind of keep
Well, he had a good race. He had a really poor pit stop, if you don't remember.
But do you think with that pit stop being better, would he have beaten Bottas and took in 3rd?
I mean, I don't know. There was a pretty big gap at the end there, but I mean, it forced Bottas to be rough on his tires too because he had to go in right after Norris pitted. So
Sure. Well, he just capitalized on that because Bottas was behind Norris. Norris had the sloppy pit stop.
Mm-hmm.
And then you only have really one lap to really capitalize on a mistake like that.
Right.
Especially if you're trying to overcut or undercut, you know what I mean? Like, you have to capitalize on that mistake. So, yeah, he pitted right there. So, you're right.
No, I think he had a good race, though. I mean, irregardless.
Yeah, and Ricardo had good form, too, right there.
And he moved up to third place at the Drivers' Championship.
Norris did?
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
And then right near the end, we had Perez come in for the fastest lap to take that point away from Lewis. But Perez didn't get the point because he wasn't in the top 10. He just took it away. And as some people say, every point counts. And I've heard Lewis, I've heard Christian Horner, I've heard a lot of people say that. And so it really does probably come down to those last few points near at the end. So
I think Alex Albon said it in like the little like post-race thing. He was like, "Yeah, we didn't get it, but every point counts, and it might come down to that point exactly in the championship." So
yeah,
a lot happened this weekend. So it's only 4 points
in the Constructors' Cup,
which is crazy. And then I think it's 8 points in between Lewis and Max. When going into this weekend, it was 33 because I knew that because Max's number.
We have an 8-point difference, and you're right. I mean, anything can happen. I told you that 2 weeks ago. I was like, someone has a DNF, something happens. It can change real quick. No one was running away with it yet.
Yeah, I didn't think it was going to happen, but so.
So we have
Hungary up next is where we're going. So what's going to happen?
Yep.
And I mean, really, it's just, anybody's game. So
yeah,
it's going to be interesting.
So then, who was your driver of the day? Same as mine.
Oh, Lewis, of course. I mean, it was a great race. You can't take away the performance that he put, overcoming a 10-second penalty, and basically being on the charge. I think there was only like 12 laps left, and he was 10 seconds behind. I was like, there's no way he's going to be able to catch up to Leclerc.
Yeah.
But you can't take that away based off of a crash, and it's a very controversial crash. But I think that he did a really stellar job. So
yeah. So yeah, in 2 weeks we got Hungary.
And then it's summer break.
Yep. And then we should see what happens with maybe some drivers.
Yeah, there's a lot of open seats. So
yeah, I'm still waiting to see what happens on Aston Martin's seat. I know there's a spot open, I think.
Yeah, Lance Stroll. You think his dad's not going to sign him?
Yeah, we're still waiting to find out what's going to happen there.
That, and then, Mercedes, the second Red Bull seat.
Yeah, we got, some Williams stuff that's waiting to happen. Yeah, there's a lot still. So I think we might start getting to see what's panning out around summer break. But I think first sprint race weekend was a plus.
It was.
I think they need to modify points a little bit more to make it a little bit more dramatic and make it, I don't know.
Maybe a little bit more worthwhile for them, I think.
I guess. I don't know. But who knows? Maybe these 3 points will be worthwhile. I don't know.
Maybe. We shall see.
But that's it from us at It's Lights Out F1, and we will see you in 2 weeks. That's it. We'll see you guys later.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.